All right, everybody. Thank you for joining. This is a special event webinar held sponsored by Watthub. It's an industry training that we wanted to get into on commercial solar loans. It seems to be the hot button, and it seems to be what everybody is asking for these days for-profit businesses. The timing couldn't be better with the Inflation Reduction Act being passed and 30% tax credit. We still get the great depreciation on commercial. So we can just go ahead and get started here while everyone else piles in, and we hope that you seek a lot of education out of this. I'm sure there will be a lot of questions, so we'll save the end time for question and answer. We'll do our best to field everybody's questions. But in this training series that we're going to be going over a lot of the basics, commercial solar loans overview, terminology, underwriting, to really get everybody a handle on how to offer commercial solar financing to their audience and start increasing the close ratio of commercial projects. So who better to do that than the Watthub team? So let's get into it. We've got first slide here is meet the presenters. So myself, John McDonnell, I've been doing commercial solar for 15 years, not only in the development side, but the EPC. So all my EPC has done is build commercial projects in California and Arizona. I say I am fluent in bank and as a second language. I do understand from a banker's perspective, collateral and all that stuff, and I can translate that to make it easy for everybody. Expert in commercial solar finance development installation. There's my email. Feel free to email us if you have any questions. I'll let Everett Brewer go.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Everett Brewer. So over 10 years of experience here in this space. And I think I do all things tech. So the biggest contribution we do in this space for me is really on the analytics side. I really get into the data, the analytics, and the development, also layering on additional technologies, making sure they have constructability and also the ability to cash flow, such as energy efficiency, energy storage, gen sets, cogen, any of the other technologies that apply to account for demand reduction, all the way to load shifting to backup load sensitivity. So that's my biggest component. Expert in commercial solar development and battery systems. As you guys know, we have a heavy investment into the battery technology space, and we do offer that all the way up to the commercial, industrial, utility scale space. Again, my email there in case any questions or comments is everett@stores@watthub.com.
Awesome. Hey guys, Chris Leonard here. Been in the solar industry for several years, almost 10 years now. Did it residential. I was a corporate sales trainer for a company that was a dealer for Solar City, and then also for Sun Edison. And expert in the residential and commercial space. Obviously, you see there that I help with a lot of the development presentations to a lot of the clients. Anywhere from really small to really large, and then also help with project management, taking the projects from A to Z for partners or for our own projects. Again, my email's right there at the bottom.
All right, we'll keep it going. This is a slide, why listen to these guys? If you don't know who Watthub is, I'll let Everett take over here and give you a little background of who we are and how we can help the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. The big thing about Watthub is that we really have the ability to take it from a lead in all the way to project management. There's obviously key components in this case. There's multiple milestones and triggers and environments that we have to make sure that it's taken care of end to end, that where the connective tissue has the education end to end. A lot of times we see the industry talk about that they're a developer or they're a financier or they're an EPC or a project manager. And if there's not a good amount of communication all the way through those channels, that's where breakdown can happen. And that's where projects end up going to failure, or they end up hitting a price point to where people end up losing money long term. And so having that education in-house allows us to be really efficient. And that's really important when you come down to commercial solar loans, in this case, for the sensitivity and pricing in those regard. So you can see all the different facets and solutions that we offer. So you're welcome to obviously approach us from any one of those facets, not necessarily always from a commercial solar financing standpoint, but definitely make sure we're leveraging that case. Next slide here. So from the platform development, just a couple little bullet points here. Even just in the last 4 years, we've actually aggregated over, 23, almost 2,300 aggregated systems developed. And total project value is $1.217 billion of projects developed over the place. And then total developed and deployed is 2.275 gigawatts of projects that have gone through development. And then obviously in most cases, go all the way down to the finish line, from large utility scales and microgrids all the way down to, small, medium-sized business, maybe that be for-profit, nonprofit, doesn't matter. There's no one size fits all from a commercial solar standpoint. That's why there's always a dynamic approach to the industry as a whole. And no project is alike. We're going to show you some examples of that today and how the solar loan and financing applies to that. Recent projects completed here just in the last few years, you can see there's a plethora of them. They go all the way from nonprofit to for-profit. They're scoured all across the country. And you can see is that the big gap to a lot of these projects here are what we consider small commercial or medium commercial. Very rarely has there been a financing options available for these categories. They've kind of been left behind, or they're forced to just say, hey, hopefully you have self-funding available through your local bank or trying to leverage a building. And so we've really bridged the gap, and we're really excited to show you guys the options we have here that'll make this translate to even the small business, the ones that really drive America for the growth and opportunity and the job creation can be supported, and we can put more dollars back in their pocket.
All right, let's jump in. Let's do a recap. So we've hosted this webinar. We'll host it on YouTube. It's youtube.com/Watthub, as well as our 101, 201, and 301 trainings. So you can go through, they're all online. You can watch them. They're about an hour and 15 minutes each. So it will take some time to get through those. But our goal is to be the connective tissue in your partner in commercial solar sales. So check those out when you get a chance. And let's go through the course outline. What we're going to be talking about today is really 7 key components. So we're going to be going over commercial solar loan basics, underwriting, loan options. So what is available for your customer? We're going to be going over states. So depending on where everybody in the audience is it Texas? Is it Florida? Is it California, Maine? All across the country. We'll touch on a lot of those. Number 5 is how to make your project pencil. And there's sort of a trick, and it's an art to that. So we will get into that. How to qualify a lead. So you get a customer that's interested, don't know where to go. We'll help you qualify that lead, and how to submit a commercial project for financing quote. So let's jump right into it. So we're going to go over some loan terminology first. And this is we're going to spend some time on. It may be familiar to you. It may not be familiar to you. But getting right into it, the loan basics, term of the loan. Term means it's however long that you're committed to paying that loan. Amortization means however long the amortization is. Case in point example is you've got a 30-year mortgage. If it's a 30-year fixed mortgage, your term is 30 years, your amortization is 30 years. Other loans for commercial real estate and other things, they could play with that. So they could have a 5-year loan with a 25-year amortization, which is common in when you're buying commercial real estate, which means you have to refinance at the end of 5 years. So the term and amortization don't necessarily have to equal each other. It's nice when they do, but they don't have to. Interest rate, we'll go over that. Effective long amortization interest rates. If you buy a car for 5 years and you have a 4% interest rate, and then that jumps to an 8% interest rate, the payment doesn't swing drastically. But if you have a mortgage that's 30 years and you have a 4% loan, and then you refinance at an 8% loan, your payments quadruple. And so that's the effect of interest on long amortizations. On the collateral side of it, we got recourse and we got non-recourse. Recourse means what are you putting up and guaranteeing the payments? So are you putting up your real estate as collateral? Are you putting up a personal guarantee saying, I will make these payments in this loan and I personally guarantee it. If I don't, you can come after my personal assets. Non-recourse, everybody likes. You're not signing personally. There's no real estate. There's no hooks. But that's, the basics of collateral. And this is coming from a bank standpoint. Any traditional bank that you go to, which was prior to the solar loans that we're going to introduce to you today, collateral was the biggest thing. Is, do you have enough equity in your buildings? Do you have enough personal assets that I feel comfortable loaning you money and that I'll get it back whether you make the payments or not? So that's the difference between recourse and non-recourse. I'll let Everett jump in on the last two bullet points.
Yeah, absolutely. So selling payments, that's one tactic we've all kind of taken from the residential space is that, hey, what can I do from a payment standpoint, minus the whole CapEx and trying to eat the whole elephant all at once? How can that payment be applicable to that customer's daily life in association with their current cost of energy, and then their payment obviously being the delta between the two? And I think you guys really appreciate our approach in this case. What we've seen in the past is when you see a term and an amortization schedule, traditionally in the commercial space, you've got this loan for $250,000. Well, that 250 grand is just actually scheduled for the full term of that. So 250 minus plus your interest rate. This is your payment. It's just flat. There's no way to re-amortize that. There's no way to buy down that. And what it looks like from a cash on cash standpoint, it put a lot of the projects where their loan payments were more expensive, their electric bill savings. Granted, people always try to do the fancy accounting. Is like, well, at least you get your tax credit, and at least you're bringing that in house, so your cumulative cash flow can be more positive for you. But overall, cash on cash ends up being a higher payment, and the banks look at that as a negative. That's a risk standpoint, and so we want to be really sensitive to that. So one thing I really want to drive home here. The new loans that we have now available for you guys are actually going to schedule just like you do today in the residential market. You're going to see amortization schedules or terms from 20 to 25 years, but that traditional 18-month buy down that really helps the cash flow, where they can take their tax credits during that 18-month period or any other incentives or collateral that they may have and actually apply it to the loan. They have the ability where that loan is going to re-amortize and stay at that lower payment level. And that is the secret to where residential has been really successful. And that's been a palatable payment for them. We've actually adopted that now for the commercial space. So you guys will really appreciate the outcome there. And then of course, APR or effective rate. This is something that we want to bring up because there's some positive aspects of it. There's also some negatives. So an APR is what your actual annual percentage rate is for the loan. So let's say you have a 3.99% loan. However, depending on how you're paying that down month over month, APR is actually calculated on a daily basis, and that's where interest has occurred. And then you make that payment on that 30th day, like a car payment, and then that interest is then bought down, and then the remainder goes down to the principal. But if you look at certain loan mechanisms out there, let's say PACE financing is a common one. PACE financing is a traditional tax assessed financing. It goes towards your property tax. And property taxes in the business level are mostly paid every 6 months. And so sounds great, no credit, no recourse, all these positive things. But if I had a 5.25% interest rate APR, because I'm only paying down that interest twice a year, you're actually paying interest on top of interest because it keeps accumulating. The effective rate is actually 9.12% because you're actually paying interest on top of interest. So this is a really big sensitivity point that comes down to what loans really are going to apply to the customer, what that effective rate really is. So that way they can see how much is going to the principal and how much is going to interest.
Excellent. So let's jump into underwriting financials. No one's really an expert at this except for bankers, and some of the bankers I've worked with are still having trouble with this. One of the things that we want to jump into first is the definition of financials. So when you submit a solar loan for quote and we say, all right, it's good, everything works, let's get through underwriting. So underwriting is where the lender and or Watthub takes a look at the business financials and see what kind of business health they're in. So when we say financials, that's going to determine the business profit and loss statements and balance sheets and possibly tax returns. Generally speaking, those are the business financials. And what we need out of that is 3 years profit and loss statements, 3 years balance sheets, and business tax returns likely for the past 2 years. A lot of quotes that we've been doing with our solar loan lately, customers haven't done their 2021 taxes yet because they got filed for an extension. And so we just need 3 years prior. And generally speaking, if you do see financials from a business or balance sheets, if you get them and send them over to us, and they're not just uploaded right through our portal, then you'll want to take a look at the net income at the end of it and see if the business is profitable. If it's not profitable, there's ways of digging into that and seeing if it would have been profitable. It's just how they do their taxes. Another thing that we need is articles of incorporation. So if there's a business, it's been established, it has to be 3 years or more, or else there's no real track record on a loan basis. So articles of incorporation from the Secretary of State or the Corporation Commission, whatever state it's in, those are public information, so you can actually go fetch those yourself if you wanted to. And then personal financial statement, it's a form that most lenders will send out that it's everything you own, it's assets, it's real estate, it's cars, it's debt, it's mortgages, it's you list everything, and it comes up with how much are you worth, and are you a worthy borrower? And that's a key terminology here, is are you a worthy borrower? The underwriting that we have on our solar loans, very forgiving. So there's some loans that I've seen, I've been underwriting for 15 years, ever since we got into commercial solar, because we specialize in commercial finance, and I've seen some balance sheets and profit and loss statements. I'm like, they're kind of questionable. Send them to our lender, and the lender's like, yep, that's good. What is important to know about our loans is that they do take into account the energy savings in the whole project itself. So going back to Everett's bullet point of selling payments, if you have somebody who's paying $5,000 a month in electricity bill, and we're going to save them $4,000 a month, then there's $4,000 a month of free debt service coverage ratio. So they're a little bit more forgiving on a normal banker's standpoint would be, I don't care how much the solar project is going to save my customer. I need to see that they have $60,000 of net income at the end of the year to make all these monthly payments, regardless of their energy savings. So that's the traditional banker's look. And what's making our loan so popular is that we don't have to tell your customers, hey, you got to send them to their own bank and ask them to borrow more money. No, we can bring in a solar loan, wrap it in a bow, and then get them to do the credit application. Credit application is general information about the business, the partners, annual revenue, and so forth. It's a short 1 or 2 page form, all done online. So those are the underwriting basics of what you're going to actually set expectations for your customers, because when they say, how is this underwritten? We have a form, we have a marketing slick that you guys can send to them and say, all right, this is what we'll need. These are the documents we need. This is the process flow. So it'll make it easy for you.
And one thing I'll add right here again is that when we look at the initial qualifier for the project, you can see here, it's stated here, 3 years balance sheet, 3 years profit and loss statement. So keep in mind, as you're qualifying a borrower, make sure you ask that 3-year number. That can be an initial indicator whether or not they're going to fit that box for underwriting or financing in general.
Good point. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of the presentation. So commercial loan options. What do we have for customers? There's a lot of for-profit businesses that want to go solar, but don't really know where to go and get the money. So let's get into it. Loan options that we offer is a 399 20-year fixed loan, non-recourse. So there's no prepayment penalty, or there is no prepayment penalty, but there's no personal guarantee, and there's no real estate as collateral. So this is a really flexible loan. This loan does actually have a required special payment that is used to keep the total schedule of debt service, the payments, low throughout the 20-year fixed term. So that's one of the more popular ones for non-recourse. Another loan that we offer is a 499 10-year loan with a 20-year amortization. So the 10 year is a term, there'll be a balloon in the 11th year, but it's a 20-year amortization. So you still have the low fixed payments throughout the 10 years as if it were a 20-year loan, and that's at 499. We're going to get into the down and dirty of these in the next slide, so don't worry about that. 5.24 on a 15-year loan and a 25-year amortization. So this is the loan that really keeps the payments low and offers opportunity in low avoided cost markets like the Texas and Floridas and Utahs that can make some of these projects pencil that normally would not have. So there's other various loans from 5 to 15 years, various interest rates. Let's talk about dealer fees. A lot of these loans have come from lenders that do residential solar finance. So like you're paying anywhere between, I don't know, 22 and 30%, maybe, just a guess because I'm not in residential, but that's what you pay for loans from all the bigs, the big financing companies. Our dealer fees a little bit lower, but still they are significant. So 15 to 22%. One of the key points here is we get a lot of loans submitted to us saying, I need solar finance. I've already presented. Now we have to have the conversation of, well, we have to add the dealer fees just because that's, you need to add them, right? Nobody can support a 15 to 22% pay cut to build a project, especially in commercial. So it's very important to add these dealer fees into the project, in which they will come fully baked with our loan quote. So getting to us before you present is critical, and we'll set you up for success. Anything to add, Everett?
No, that sounds great.
All right, so digging in. So let's get into the down and dirty of the commercial loan options. The first one, the 20-year fixed, non-recourse, fast underwriting, 10 days. When your borrower has all of the documents uploaded into the portal, I've seen it faster than 10 days. I've seen it like 7 days. So this is non-recourse. There's no personal guarantee, no real estate as collateral. In every case, there is a UCC1 filing on the equipment, which is an asset lien or equipment lien. It doesn't hinder the property in any way, but it is filed through the county. The borrower just needs to know, if you guys don't pay, I'm going to come get my equipment back. And that's in every single case of every loan probably ever lent on solar. These are the higher dealer fees. This is around the 20 to 22% range. And there's limited to no construction financing. So this loan, if you have the financial wherewithal and capacity to build the project and get paid at the end, this is a great loan for you. This loan also comes in other terms and interest rates and associated dealer fees with that. Jumping into the middle box, the 10-year, 20-year amortization fixed loan, 4.99 interest rate. So it's a 10-year loan with a 20-year amortization, fast underwriting, about 15 days. There is a personal guarantee required. So that this is a loan there the customer and the borrower needs to sign for. They are used to signing for loans. They signed it for their real estate. They signed it for other business loans. If they get SBA, SBA needs a lot more than a personal guarantee. So this should not be anything out of the ordinary for your borrower. This loan has the lowest dealer fees out of the 3 loans, and we provide construction funding. So 30% on permit, 25% on interim completion, meaning racks up, modules in, 30% on substantial completion, meaning city inspection, and then 15% on PTO. So this is an attractive loan because a lot of our dealer network and channel partners and EPCs are going to need construction financing to build a bigger commercial job. So piggybacking off of this, the 15-year, 25-year amortization fixed loan, 524, so it's a quarter-point jump. You get an extra 5 years on the term, an extra 5 years on the amortization schedule. It's fast underwriting. It's the same underwriting time, personal guarantee. This has just about a point higher than the 1020 and also offers construction financing. So we're excited about these loans. There's a place for all these loans. We've gotten loans completed. We've got multiple in the queue, and this is really making projects pencil, and it's wrapping them in a bow for the sales side of it, where you can come in with a fully baked solution.
And one thing I'll add here too is that just from a rules of engagement to keep consumer data protected, the portals are going to be live for all the submissions directly from the clients who us as the underwriter and banking. And so just keep that in mind. It's best to keep those documents out of emails. Don't collect them personally. Let the portal do the work so it's heavily automated, so we can stay within that 10-day fast underwriting and 15-day fast underwriting procedures. That just protects all consumer data, plus and minus, including personal financials where required.
We got it. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions surrounding this, so we'll save those to the end. We'll jump back into, so select key data from states. There's a lot of talk about, different states. So the good SREC states we're going to touch on, the good high avoided cost states we're going to touch on, then we're going to touch on some lower states. We wanted to give you some data, and we're going to go over these real fast on 4 specific states that we see a lot of activity from. So starting with California, the mothership of solar. So loan scenarios, just to give you a solar production yield, 1,500 to 1,700 kilowatt hours per kilowatt is usually what we see. You know, generally speaking, could be a little higher, could be a little lower, depending on shade and tilt angle. Avoided cost, under 100 kilowatt system. This is kind of a line in the sand of project size. You always want to do above 100 kilowatt projects. They're easier. There's plenty more money for them, and contractors don't have to do a really small project because they're thin in general. So 100 kilowatts and up, 17-cent avoided cost. 100 kilowatts and below, and this is what we see at 21 cents avoided cost. Again, it's project by project, it's utility by utility in California, but we underwrite. We've done over 4,000 proposals all across the country, and we compiled some of the data just to give you guys key highlights. Average EPC cost under 100 kilowatts is about 262. Average EPC cost above 100 kilowatts is 236. Again, depending on the style of installation, but going through. Let's look at Texas. We get a lot of submissions from Texas. Texas is a really hot residential market. It's blazing. Solar production yield, 1,450 to 1,660. Here's where Texas kind of falls down, is for commercial. And again, it's a deregulated market, so it's utility by utility, and there's a lot of them. But average avoided cost under 100 kilowatts, 9.4 cents. Average avoided cost, and this is true solar savings per kilowatt hour, above 100 kilowatts, 6.8 cents. Really hard to build a system, finance it, and get a lower payment per kilowatt hour than 6.8 cents. So there's ways to do it, but we'll show you a few. Average EPC cost, as you can see, much lower than California, and that's the benefit to Texas. Their cost of labor just seems to be all in a little bit lower. It's less red tape. It's a newer solar market. All right, looking at New Jersey. So the solar production is 1,450 to 1,300. So lower yield, higher avoided cost than most other states. 15.5 for under 100 kilowatts, over 100 kilowatts, 12 cents. You know, right in the middle, EPC ranges for below and above. They get an SREC. Spot market versus long-term contracts are a little different, but you can pretty much underwrite right around 20 cents a kilowatt hour for a certain, minimum of 10 or 15 years, which makes New Jersey a very hot solar market, and any loan would pencil there. So looking at commercial solar target markets. So if you're a rep and you're wondering, hey, where do I go to close loans? You want a high close ratio, the good solar states: California, Arizona, New Jersey, New Mexico, Maryland, DC, Pennsylvania have good SRECs. Colorado has a small SREC, so you need a lower cost of install to make that work. And then any local incentives from the utilities within the states. We're doing a project in San Antonio, and CPS actually gives a nice big upfront rebate to the project, so it made it work. Bad solar states, and again, this doesn't mean you shouldn't farm there. It doesn't mean if you're from there, you're dead in the water. We will do our best to make any deal work and pencil and give you the highest chance of success on your projects. But Texas, Florida, Utah, Idaho, Washington, Tennessee, they're generally low solar savings states per kilowatt hour. So we do the underwriting, the utility analytics, and what it comes out to is 5, 6, 7 cents, 9 cents per kilowatt hour. Really hard to build a nice project for a customer, make money, and finance it at a lower rate. North Carolina, South Carolina, there can be goods and bads, but their policy is bad for power purchase agreements. But this new solar loan, I think, is going to be pretty hot in those states. So as everybody starts increasing rates, we've seen Duke ask for 12%. We've seen Texas utilities increase up to 70%. And now we're seeing utilities all across the country, the bigs, Florida Power and Light, they're jumping 5 to 12, 5 to 15% in energy escalations, which is big and will make some deals pencil in 2023. Also want to touch on bad states or no net metering states. or net metering states that have caps of 100 kilowatts. So if you have a 1 megawatt size project and it has a cap of 100 kilowatts, that means you have to do 100 kilowatts to get net metering, or you're left exporting energy, and that wholesale rate that they pay you is 2 to 3 cents a kilowatt hour. Absolutely destroys the financial metrics. So sometimes we just have to kind of put our tail between our legs and say, hey, customer, we got 100 kilowatts. That's what we can do, because it makes the most financial sense, even though it's the smallest, smaller than you need. Anything to add, Everett or Chris?
Yeah, the biggest aspect of all this is, as we talked about before, is avoided cost of energy, right? And making sure that we understand how to calculate that. That comes down to, what does the actual solar itself impact from a kilowatt hour basis? And we're going to touch on that here in a second.
All right, Chris. Chris, you are the master of making magic in proposals. So I'll let you take over how a project pencils and how to make it pencil.
Yeah, awesome. So we've covered some really good fine detail of the loans and the terms and the rates. But a key thing that we see in the industry is a lot of people, we don't know about avoided cost. And this is what dictates if we have a good project or a bad project. What I mean by that is the way that it pencils. So here you can see on the screen that avoided cost is a term that lenders need to know. So sometimes they'll just ask us what the avoided cost is on the project, and that's going to be, 4 to 40 cents. It just depends on the market. So the first thing is, there's basically 4 different charges associated with power bills when it comes to commercial. And residential, you typically only have 2 or 3. So the first thing you can see is the blue box top right, fixed customer charges. Do not change post solar. That's the fixed charge. You guys are all familiar with that basic charge after going solar residentially. Maybe it's 10, 15. It just depends on the utility company. The second charge is demand-based charges. Demand charges, to touch on that a little bit, you can see in the little red box to the left from the big red, you can see on peak, off peak, and then the environmental benefits. But what demand is the utility companies take a month period and they look at the entire month and what the highest spike of energy was needed in a 15-minute period. And then from there, that's where they associate the demand charge. Obviously in residential, we don't have that. And if we don't take in consideration in a proposal, when you're showing the financial metrics as far as how it pencils, if we don't take in demand into it, then we're not going to be projecting the right savings for the clients, which means you're going to overpromise and underdeliver, which I hope none of us want to do that, right?
And if I could add here, Chris, too, is that demand charges can be anywhere from 10% of their overall utility bill that month or year to all the way up to 72% that I've seen of their overall bill. So it is variable based off the utility and how and when they use their energy.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks for touching on that. It's a big thing to keep in mind. Most of the time we do see, I'd probably say an average of at least 30 to 50 is their monthly charge. So then the next one in the yellow, you can see is obviously the kilowatt hour. We're all familiar with that. That solar, there is some utility companies that have the 1-to-1 offset. Some don't. Here in Utah, where I'm located, we export at 10 cents. We only get about 5 cents back. Every utility company will have a little bit different. And then the last one is the taxes and fees that are associated with that. As they go solar and they get rid of a lot of their kilowatt hours, let's call it 100% offset, then they're going to be lowering some of their taxes. But they'll always still have some taxes and fees that are associated with it. And those are what we call non-bypassable charges. And then you can't underwrite demand charge savings. And then many residential proposal tools miscalculate commercial savings. And the reasons for that is when you go to put in their kilowatt hour usage, that's all it asks for in some of these residential tools. It doesn't ask for demand. And obviously you also have to make sure that you have them on the proper rate schedule, or in other words, service plan. You can see kind of at the top of this bill. So that is how we come up to the avoided cost and how to understand that.
And if I can add something here too, is the residential tools that are out there. I mean, some utilities have as many as 7 or 8 individual line items of a different price per kilowatt hour during certain times of day, seasonality. Also, you have account for demand charges that are measured in 2 or 3 different sections of the day or night, and also seasonality. So all those individual inputs just don't exist inside of a residential tool. And so that's where the bottleneck really comes into the ability to make that tool show a good feasible outcome. And also the big gap in the residential tools is they cannot calculate any additional state incentives that are around the commercial industry, like depreciation for state depreciation in California. And they also don't quantify your depreciation in general for commercial projects as well. So it's key that you actually use a proper commercial development tool, or in this case, Watthub can do that for you. It is a service and value that we bring to the industry. So definitely rely on us and we can make sure those calculations are correct.
Yeah, another thing just to touch on that real quick as well is demand charges. Obviously, we Everett discussed that it can be anywhere from 10 to up to 70%. Solar will never 100% offset demand charges. It's not possible. It can't produce enough power in a 15-minute period. So the only thing to do there is batteries or heavy batteries or generators, which brings up the cost significantly, which can obviously have a big impact on the return on investment. So moving forward out of the avoided costs, obviously we're talking about how projects pencil. Here on the left, you can see this is a bad project example. The reason for that is it's a high cost of installation, a high cost project. It's got low production yield, meaning it doesn't get as much sun as maybe some other areas like Arizona or portions of California. And so it has a low avoided cost. So if you see there, this is a 20-year term with a 3.99% interest rate. And this is factoring in a 35% buy down, basically a down payment. And this still does not pencil. You can see on the far left side under financing payments column, they're out the $4,000 plus the $61,000 in payments. Their electric bill savings are only $21,000. Yes, they do have the state tax depreciation. And then the federal tax as well is $418. So you can see their negative cash flow, $1,900. So not a lot of customers will be willing to pay $1,900 more than what they're already paying and say, yes, sign me up. We're ready to move forward. Next.
In addition to that too is that from a banking standpoint, if this is the outcome, this loan is considered high risk. And so in this case, the loan just doesn't move forward. So we do have to account for what's in best for your end client and how it's first getting priced, making sure we're maximizing production, and then also maximizing avoided cost. And then a precursor I have here is that the examples we're given here is this example and then the next example coming up. These are both California projects. So you'll see a night and day difference between how the projects are cash flowed and penciled based off environment, and obviously those three indicators on the bottom right. So same market, totally different outcome.
Yep. And then John, if you just jump back up to that red one, the bad one, just real quick, wanted to touch on that. So when we talk about pencil, we have a lot of projects that are brought to us saying, hey, we need a loan. And then we typically will come back and say, great, we would like to see how it pencils or if it pencils. Obviously, this is a bad project where this does not pencil. Most lenders will not put their name on a piece of paper for a client that's literally paying more for solar. Even if this was somebody that just wants to be green, obviously they're not going to pay $221,000 extra or $150 or whatever year it is throughout there. So that's a bad example. Now for a good example, let's go ahead and jump over into that one. Now you can see this one is same thing, a 20-year loan. This is an interest only 24 months. You can see that this one does pencil great because it does have a high avoided cost. We were able to avoid a lot of their kilowatt hour charges and some of the fees. And then medium high production yield, they get a great production. And then the fair EPC cost, meaning that it's priced well where we see savings. And that's one very key factor when it comes to commercial, is not every project is going to pencil. And if we can't provide financing, where if we go back to if we touch on the bad example, we won't have a project. But if we see here that this does pencil, the project has to be priced where we see positive cash flow. So if, let's say I had a project, I wanted to price this specific one right here at, let's call it $300,000 or at a $320 a watt, it might be negative cash flow. So then that means that to see savings, I'd have to drop it down to say the $270 a watt or $280 a watt. So financing dictates how a project pencils as well.
Yep. Let me jump in here, Chris. So This is a quick payment cost versus yield matrix. You can see two examples of the loans on the left and the right, 20 and 10 and 20 and 15 and 25. So this slide, it'll be available, and we have a marketing slick on this. It's just a payment equivalent calculator. So if you know that your avoided cost is 15 cents or 12 cents or 10 cents or less, you can kind of gauge on where you need to be as the EPC or where the project cost needs to be. So if you got a customer that's asking for, I want carports and I want superstructures and I want all this stuff, and you know that they have a 12-cent avoided cost, you have to sell them into, well, that's not going to pencil, but we can provide you a roof mounted for some savings. So you can see 1,300, 14, 15, 16, 17, 1,800 kilowatt hours per kilowatt versus the cost at the top axis. And so this is a 20% pay down. Part of these two loans that I don't think we touched on is that they're interest only for the first 18 months. It gives the flexibility to monetize the tax credit for the customer and then pay something down if they want to. It is optional on these two particular loans. So the first 18 months is interest only, where they have low payments. They're going to be saving money in most markets. And then whatever is not paid down in month 19 goes to amortization. And we can quote this out for you at any time. So this slide is just indicative of, if you know where your customer's solar savings rate is, then you know what you can deliver to them or not waste time. So if they're dead set on a project that's too expensive, then they can go find their own financing. We can't wrap that one in a bow for them. I'm sure we'll get some questions on this one later. Well, let's go through how to qualify leads. So this is now getting into your business. You get a prospect. You get to figure out, what do I have here? We get a lot of Facebook posts in a great solar groups that say, I've got a commercial deal. I don't know what to do with it. Well, let's teach you how to qualify these deals and teach you how to become an actual customer acquisition / developer in getting proper data and knowing what you have, because that's going to translate into commissions for you. So Chris, go ahead and run how to qualify leads.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, John. So how to qualify leads, obviously this is very important, is time is money for everybody, for the business owner, for development group, whoever's developing it, for you as a salesperson, whatever that might be. So for the highest chance of success, that's what we always want to set ourselves up for. So the first thing there is champion within the business or organization. The first thing you want to do is narrow down who's the decision maker. A lot of companies will try to get a gatekeeper, somebody that's just an assistant or a buildings ground crew person, or a, maybe the account, different things like that. We want to make sure it's somebody that's in the position that can give you the yes. So that's one thing that you always want to try to do. Second thing is an electric bill. We want to focus on the $2,500 or above. The reason for that, they're going to have typically a higher cost of energy. They're also going to have a higher chance of success of a loan that's going to pencil. And $2,500 is also going to set you up for a larger project where you're actually going to make a little bit more. In commercial, you sell at a lot lower price per watt than in residential. Which means you're going to automatically make less commission. And so if you focus on the projects that are larger, it's well worth your time to focus on those. Second aspect is roof condition via aerial image. A lot of times we get these high-rise apartment complexes that they need 500 kilowatts, but their rooftop literally can only fit maybe 50 kilowatts, which is going to come back with a very, very low offset, which is not going to be typically attractive to the business owner or the entity that holds that company. Is a roof littered with mechanical? I got a high rise just the other day from a partner, and it was just full of HVAC, vents, pipes, AC units. I just had no space for it at all. No space for solar. I might be able to fit 10 kilowatts, but they needed about 350. The other thing with commercial is setbacks or utility easements. What those are is a utility easement. Give you a perfect example. is if I wanted to do a ground mount or a carport, I got to keep in mind maybe a train tracks within 20 feet. I got to think of the overhead power lines that we have to be 20 feet away. And then setbacks, we have about 4 feet from each edge of the roof that you have to have that fire code setback with most utility companies. So you got to keep that in mind. That takes up a good amount of the roof real estate. Usable roof space, you can see there at 10 watts per square foot is a good rule of thumb to go off of. Another thing with the how to qualify the leads, obviously you see, is the avoided costs. We've talked on that. You want to work in the markets that have the higher cost of power. Local incentives and SRECs equal double digits. So that's an example there, is we want to see at least 10 cents a kilowatt hour or higher. That's really going to help the project see more savings. Or if it's a nonprofit, they want to see a PPA. It's really hard to get a PPA under that 10 cents a kilowatt hour. It is doable in certain markets, but again, we want to focus on that 10 cents or above. Carport only installation needs to have larger system. It's very, very expensive to just do a small 14 or a 20 kilowatt project. These aren't kits, they're all custom. So that's where you want to, they want to at least be above 50 kilowatts, and that's where you're going to have economy as a scale there. Pick the right partner with experience to lead you through a few successful commercial projects. We don't know what we don't know, and it does pay to know people that can help with, that have the experience. The thing with commercial leads, or commercial projects, I should say in general, is every single project is different in its own way. Where residential, it's all the same. You have 1 meter, one interconnection. It's a single phase. But with commercial, every single project's different. I've been doing commercial for 4 years, and not one has been the same. And so that's one thing, is if they are very new to commercial, then they don't have the experience on all the different types of hiccups or issues that they're going to run into. So make sure when you guys are partnering with commercial companies that they have the experience.
Yeah, I'll jump in here, and what we don't want you to do is try to be a jack of all trades, master of none. You guys are great relationship builders. You guys, there's a lot of sales people in the audience. There's a lot of EPCs in the audience, and you have your core business that you're growing, which is a feat in itself in this business where we are always pivoting. So let us be your commercial partners. Let us be your commercial sales engine, that you send us some electric bills and an address and some company information, and we can tell you within a day whether the project has legs or not. So you don't need to be the expert in all this. We're trying to give you guidelines so you can be a little bit more sharp with your time, because time is money, and you don't want to spend a year and a half on a project that doesn't have a champion within the organization, because he will only do it if they save money. So things like that, just little tidbits that we picked up over 15 years that we want to put down as general guidelines. But jumping into it, Chris, you can keep going on low close ratio projects. So here's some projects that may or may not be worth your time. We'll definitely take a look at them, but go ahead.
Yeah. So low close ratio. Obviously we've talked about, avoided costs. If it's really low, those ones aren't that great. But if you see here, this is a gas station. We get a lot of gas stations, but gas stations can be really challenging. The reason for that is these canopies that you can see here, they're not built to hold a ton of weight, right? And obviously solar panels weigh 40, 50 pounds per panel. Yes, it's only a few pounds per square foot. But that means you have to spend this gas station would have to spend a lot of money in coming in and having a retrofit, bringing in more steel to be able to make it. And then also the footings. The footings typically aren't deep enough for the extra weight. And then obviously with carports, if we wanted to put carports in here, you can see this specific example doesn't have really much space at all for that. And the challenge with that is if we're to put in carports in the ground here somewhere, now we have underground work. But guess where all the gas is held? All the gasoline, you have these big tanker trucks that come in and pump it all down into these big old these big tanks down and below the ground. So that's a big risk when doing that. And then gas stations, typically, you can see this one, very, very little roof actual space. And then you can see the car wash. It's just very little as well. You might be able to fit a couple kilowatts. So always keep that in mind, is you need a lot of roof space, or you need access to a main panel that's close to where you could put a carport. Trenching can get very expensive. So businesses that lease, that's a very low probability as well. Reason for that is you got a business, an owner of the actual building. They have to be involved in the process, and we get a lot of denials from that because they worry about roof leaks, or they don't get the benefit of the savings of the electric bill. Different things like that. So don't try and offset all individual units in an apartment building. We see that often. We get people that want to bring a project that has 48 units, but doing 48 individual interconnections for maybe 4 to 5 kilowatts. That's very, very spendy. A lot of labor that goes into that. So typically for apartment complexes, we just do the common space, the pool, the offices, the lighting throughout the hallways, different aspects like that. And then less than $1,000 a month average power bill. It's just gonna be a really small system, and it would be more worth your time focusing on that $2,500 or above, not just your time, but your client's time. And then it's limited space, just constructability. Just always think of where you can put solar, and then all the easements and setbacks as well. So yeah, that's the low cost. John, go ahead and take it from there.
You got it. Now, we touched on this before, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but partner with an experienced player. If your EPC is phenomenal at residential and they kill it, it doesn't mean they're going to be good at commercial. It's a different animal. There's a lot of nuances. There's line side taps, there's high pot tests, there's all of these different things that aren't relevant in residential. And not to say that they cannot do that. We want to teach and train up as many EPCs to do that, because we have a lot of projects that need to be built, and we want experienced players on our team as well. But as for the sales side of it, if you want a true sales engine and development engine, then Watthub's your go-to. But what you want to look, so there's a lot of people out there that say, I do commercial, I can help you, and you definitely want to explore that. We're not the end all be all of developers. There's other companies and organizations that can help too, but you're going to want to get their experience qualifications, and if they have a statement of qualifications, which is SOQ. Ask about their project management capability. Do they have an actual project manager that oversees the project that can answer questions? In commercial, there's always challenges, there's always hurdles, there's always delays, there's a good probability of change orders too, so that's expected. So setting expectations with the customer up front is going to go a long ways, because project management isn't solving every single problem the minute it comes up, but it's communication. It's, I'm going to go get that for you, and you want a company you partner with that has good communication and project management. Ask about their process flow. If they don't know their process flow from start to finish on a commercial, it's a big red flag. And then don't be fooled by the highest percentage payout, or I'm going to give you 40 cents a watt on these projects, or if it's a tiered schedule. That's, they're setting themselves up for disaster, because they're trying to pay you a whole big amount, which means they're squeezing their EPC. And getting an EPC these days, where everybody's busy, to actually build a commercial project, especially if it's small, very hard. And so if the EPC is not making money and the developer isn't making money and they're offering you this big high payout, it's just a red flag. We want to pay you guys and give you guys commissions that's fair, and let us do all the work and just collect a check. So getting into towards the end of the presentation, knowledge is power. So offer a complete solution for your commercial customers. We went over a lot of stuff. We went over some stuff that relates back to 101, 201, and 301 trainings, but revolving around commercial loans, you want to offer your customers a complete solution. You want to go to them with the dealer fees baked in, with lower payments than their savings, and offer a quick contract to them. Team up with the most experienced player in small, medium commercial solar. Offer financing when your competition doesn't. Not everybody understands commercial loans and speaks bank. We can help there. And then don't fall for no-name commercial dealer programs. Ask for their completed project list, and then make sure that that's not borrowed from somebody else. And then don't propose without adding the dealer fees, because we've had this conversation, which we're navigating through and we're being very successful at, but our pitch for that is, all right, you've already presented and you've seen one price. Now you see a different price for a loan amount. What's the difference? And they ask that, and we got to have the whole dealer fee conversation with them. You want a below market interest rate, you want fast underwriting, and you want flexibility to pay down the loan within the first 18 months. We can provide that for you, but it comes at a cost. And so make sure all deals moving forward have that in there, so it's not a discussion, actually speeds up the sale.
And if I can add here too, is that don't present a deal, even adding the dealer fee, unless you run through a proper proposal tool that calculates avoided cost. So that way savings is not inflated in that case. So there are consumer protection laws that are very real out there. And if you're missing targeted savings calculations, consumers have every bit, especially on the commercial level, to come after those that are involved. So let's just be good stewards of good outcome. And then that way everybody's protected. And it also keeps the industry nice, clean, and smart to then in turn continually drive referrals and best outcome and practices.
Great point. So going through, if you have a project, you want to use us as a loan quote only, or you need to use us as a full turnkey proposal tool. Either way, it's the same process. So I'm going to let Chris go through how to receive a loan quote from Watthub.
Yeah, perfect. So to receive a loan quote, what we'd like to see is you just go to watthub.com. We have the simple button there to click on Get Started, and you fill out a profile. That creates you a free account. Once you create that free account, then you're able to go in and click on Create New Prospect. And that's going to take you into the portal where you can put in the customer's information, address, upload the utility bills, and the proposal that you've already, maybe if you have already one bill, mark whether it's for profit or nonprofit, and then describe your needs on that prospect. Whether you're looking at providing them just solar, or you need batteries involved in that, the amount of batteries, and that's how you'll upload that for that. We also would like to see in that proposal a design or layout. If you don't have that and you provide just the utility bills, then that's where we can provide a design for that. That's typically if you're going to be customer facing, where you're wanting to propose and you want to work with the customer, that's where we just get a simple subscription to be able to do that work for you. And then customer information is needed on those. When you do fill out that Get Started and you create a new account at watthub.com, there is a terms and conditions and privacy policy box that you have to mark. That's an NDA. So any of your information you share with us is confidential, and we will not share that client's information with anybody else, and we can't go around and try to sell it ourselves as well. So that's there to protect you guys. And then same process for proposal requests. Not if you need just the loan, submit that, but also same process for if you need a proposal and design and you want us to help you take that project from A to Z. We wanted to be able to create this Watthub platform to be able to help those get into it, learn, grow, and be successful. So any questions, please drop into that Q&A on there, and I'll be happy to answer that process.
Yeah, to wrap up, so thank you guys for all attending, and there's going to be a lot of questions, so we're going to stop recording in just a couple seconds, and then we'll hang out for the questions on the Q&A section, or you have our emails, and we're going to upload this to youtube.com/Watthub. But we appreciate your time. We want you to train you up and be armed so we can deploy more solar as we move forward. That's our goal, is to create as big of a renewable energy network as we can and help train up the industry so that if you do your job more efficiently, that makes our job easier and everybody wins. So thank you all. And from Everett, Chris, and John at Watthub, we appreciate you. And we have Evan running the show in the background too, so we want to give him props because he does a lot of the utility analytics and just does a wonderful job. So thank you, Evan, and appreciate all you guys this time.